Call our meeting to order. This is a special meeting of Northampton County Commissioners held on this day so that we can take care of the business coming before the county. I would like to say before we get started that we do have a mission statement, and that mission statement and our also we have our vision statement. Our mission statement has a word in there that's really tearing me apart, and it says resources, that we're going to make sure that our resources that we have, that we can be accountable for them. I guess tonight is a night to demonstrate what we plan to do with the resources we have in the county. So commissioners, thank you all for coming. I see Commissioner Faulkner and our county manager is on the website, and we appreciate your coming and being with us. As we get down to business, there are two things on our agenda, and I would like for those to be approved at this time. Could I get approval of our agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the agenda as printed.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second that we approve the agenda as been presented. Are there any questions, any discussion? Not all in favor, let known by your sign aye.
Aye.
I Broadax Taylor.
Aye.
I Faulkner.
Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Thank you so much. As we move forward, we see that we have on the agenda the land purchase funding for Northampton County Schools. I'm going to ask at this time if our attorney will please give to us the information that's been given to us by the Northampton County Board of Education. Give to us what this agreement is and what it really says in layman's terms. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Chairman Tyner, I'll do my best. Before the board tonight are two contracts presented and forwarded from the Board of Education. The first is a real estate purchase contract where the Board of Education proposes to purchase from Lawrence Vaughn and his wife Catherine Vaughn and Charles M. Vaughn, trustee of the family trust, under the revocable trust agreement of Charles G. Vaughn, dated August 25, 2003. So the sellers are the Vaughn family. The proposed property is located in the northern or just north of the town limits of Jackson. And it is approximately 63 acres at the purchase price of $25,000 per acre for a total of $1,575,000. That purchase includes a $75,000 earnest money deposit. And what this board has to do, or is being requested to do under North Carolina law, is to approve the expenditure of those funds. So then the Board of Education can execute the contract. If the contract is approved by the board, or if the expenditure is approved by the board, and then the contract then executed by the parties, it will commence a 6-month due diligence period, where there are a number of things the Board of Education can get the property surveyed, obtain an appraisal, environmental studies, or what have you. That would precede a closing if everything is in order. That closing under the contract would not occur prior to August the 1st of this year. And if for any reason the board does not go through with it, or if certain conditions are not met as specified in the contract, the Board of Education can elect not to proceed and would recoup theoretically its earnest money deposit. Should the board not decide to go through with the purchase for a reason not specified in the contract, it would have to forfeit that earnest money deposit. I'm happy to answer any questions as to this contract. And I see that our The interim superintendent is present along with Mr. Phil Matthews. I'm sure they can answer any questions in greater detail than I can.
Board members, we're having a discussion at this time. The proposals come to us from the Northampton County Board of Education with the superintendent. You have the information before you. We sent it to you. We just got it with 2 days, 3 days ago, whatever we got it last week, whatever day. And clerk to the board sent it out to all of you so that you have a time to look over it and discuss it. At this time, we are going to allow board members you an opportunity to ask any questions about this proposal that's come before us, contract that come before us. And I would, I've studied it and looked over it, and I do have some questions, and I will bring those out as we. But I want to give you all opportunity to say whatever you need to say first, if you need to say whatever you need to say, and then it's not a one time. You can come back and ask more questions as we go through this deliberation.
I just wanted to confirm, I believe what you said. If for some reason the studies or whatever don't come back good, we can get our earnest money back. Is that correct?
Yeah, there are, yes, sir. In short, that's true. You will see under the contract, beginning at paragraph 2, there are a number of, that's entitled conditions.
Mhm.
There are a number of conditions that go for the next several pages. But then you'll see, in paragraph 3 on page 5, that talks about a failure of those conditions.
Right.
Now, the buyer, which would be the Board of Education, would have the option to waive any of those conditions if they're not met. But if they insist upon those being met and they cannot be met, then they would recoup that $75,000. That's my understanding.
I have a question as
Yes.
well. The real estate purchase contract looks good because it has all the key components of a real estate contract. But I know that in certain states, an attorney review may be required. In some states where it puts in that the attorneys on both sides talk, have like 3 to 5 day period in which they go back and forth over the contracts. And I didn't know if North Carolina, if you could tell me that, Attorney Michaela, are we required in the state of North Carolina to do that?
I don't think it's a requirement that have council review it. Now, remember, the Board of Commissioners, this board is not a party to this contract,
Got it.
right? So my legal opinion on it has no bearing whatsoever.
Okay.
But I can tell you that the board, I've corresponded with the Board of Education's attorney, Mr. Malone. He has thoroughly reviewed this on behalf of the Board of Education. I cannot speak to the sellers. So,
Thank you. That was just a general question.
yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Matthews.
I saw Mr. Matthews when he said.
Well, I did look over to Mr. Matthews. I'm assuming the sellers their lawyer has reviewed this contract, but I don't know the answer to that question. So the answer for the public who may be online, Mr. Matthews with the school system has stated that one of the sellers, Charles Matthews, did have the matter reviewed by council. He's not sure about the other 2 Vaughn parties, but again, that's not a requirement under North Carolina law, to my knowledge, that people are free to look at their own contracts and review them.
Thank you.
Well, yes. My time to tell to give my thoughts about it. We as a Board of Commissioners have the funds, and we allot those funds out to the county, Board of Education and other part of the county. I do have some questions I want to make sure about it, understand tonight. If we approve this, we will be looking at the 53 acres of land as I call it an option.
It's, Mr. Chairman, I think it's 63.
I mean, 63, I'm sorry.
Yes, 63.
63, okay, as an option. I'm looking at it as an option. What we're saying is if we do the pay down the funds that they're requesting, then we'll have until July, August to come up with the funds. That's what I'm reading. So that means that if the Board of Education find that doing their due diligence, that this land for whatever reason will not be suitable, then we are out of the contract. We can be out of the contract, but we'll probably lose then $75,000. I want to ask if we would approve this. I want to ask that we would ask the Board of Education, because it's been asked of us and telephone's been ringing. I know all of you got phone calls. I would ask the Board of Education if they would provide us a short range and long range facility program for the county. That's what I would like for them to do between now and the closing of this, that the citizens might know and the citizens would have an understanding of where the Board of Education is going. What I've heard is what you're gonna do, and that's always the question. What you're gonna do with all the buildings that we already have? That's the question that I've had. What we're gonna do with the building. The oldest one besides Squire would be Northampton West. All the rest is fairly new there. And the question is, what we're gonna do? It wasn't a problem about not doing it, but what your long range plan, short range plans are. Then the other question I have, and Mr. Matthews, you can certainly help us with this. $50 million for a high school ain't no money. I just want you to know that. When you're gonna take $2 million and pay the architect, you gotta pay all the reports you gotta have, and how much we're gonna have for brick and mortar. That's something I just want the Board of Education to know. I'm in that business where I am building, and I know, Ed, you might be in it too. I know you are. It's expensive to build now. And the question I'm asking is $50 million gonna be enough to give us the school that you also design? That's something the Board of Education gotta ask. Because of the fact that the space, I had a call today that said, if you build a new school with just $50 million, then you won't have the space that you have at high school now. Because of the cost. Okay, we just want to make sure that before we come out with the big money, $1.8 million, I think what's been given to us for that land, that we would know those questions will be answered. that you all will be satisfied with what you're going to receive for that $50 million. I hope y'all understand what all I'm saying is, I'm glad we got the time in between now and July, so that you can do all you need to do before we put out taxpayers' money. That you can say to us that, yeah, this is our building, this is the size of our building, and we getting everything that we possibly need for the new high school. Just a personal opinion. This is all now. Well, man, for a personal opinion, I just don't believe they're gonna get all they need to get for $50 million. It's just a personal opinion. I'm in that in that market. You just, you know, for high school with everything that you need in it. And that'll be something the Board of Education have got to work out. But I am sure tonight that we don't want to do anything to prohibit the Board of Education from doing what you need to do. But we'll be asking for a report back from you with a plan that this school is what you want, this is what you desire to have, superintendent, you know, and you got everything in order. I want to make sure that architect gives you every amount it's gonna cost. With your engineering, for your architect, for all the boring you got to do out there, for the paving you got to do. I just want to make sure that before we move into it, and I'm glad you're doing it this way, that we got enough money to cover for a new high school. That's all that's my side of it, board member. That we don't use the taxpayers' money, and then you come back and say, oh no, this just not gonna work. That's just my opinion. And I just think that we need to ask the Board of Education to give us that plan so that because the public's looking at us. They're saying, okay, this, you know, we're trusting you with our resources. That's what's on our mission statement. And if they're entrusting us, we need to give a report back to them and say to them, yes, this is what they want. This is what they're gonna get for the $50 million, and we'll be a fool not to give you the 1.5 if the $50 million is gonna do what you need to do. I need to also say to you, and that the Board of Commissioners don't have a cent more to give you. We're taking this out of fund balance. And y'all know what fund balance is. We work hard to get a fund balance. I mean, real hard, even to the point of collecting back tax. And we want you to know that as we work hard to do it, we want to make sure that we're spending it. I guess I'm talking too much. We're spending it correctly. That's all. And I just want to make sure that the Board of Education understand where I'm just one vote, where I'm coming from in our school system. Well, members, you need to add anything. I don't know whether I said it right or not. Not as fluent as I used to be, but I hope I got it across. We just want to be accountable. We just got to be accountable.
Mr. Chairman, I thank you so much. I just, Ms. Matthews, I know this is the area that you have covered and got extensive knowledge in. And so my only question was, out of the 50 million that we're receiving, kind of going back to what Chairman Tyner say, in what you have researched, will the 50 million do everything that's needed for the capacity high school that is desired by the Board of Education?
I can't not speak for the education. I will address your question best that I can address it.
Yes, sir. I wasn't, yeah, you're right. You're right, Mr. Matthews, just from your research. Yes, sir.
Key word,
Yes.
the building provide us everything that we we're confident that it will.
Okay.
Will it give us everything that we want? Maybe not. Will it give us what we need? Wish I was more prepared. That's what- Somewhere. I've got it in my office.
So it's not, it's 48 million. I don't want to speak incorrectly. Clear. Building only, right? Yes, okay.
Board members, I'm still open. I'm still open to, for your comments or anything that you'd like to say, board. member. Still providing you.
And I don't have anything there.
Commissioner Faulkner.
No, sir. I asked all of our questions when we had our work session, so I'm confident in my answers.
Gilbert.
No, I thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Matthews answered my question.
Commissioner Taylor.
I'm good. I'm good, Chairman Time.
Here you have before you tonight, a proposal coming from Northampton County Board of Education. That we would allow them to do a purchase contract. That we will provide them at this time with the earnest money they need. And that we will by August provide them with additional money they need to purchase this land. We also want to note that we've asked them to come to us, give to us a plan for the future, long range and short range plan for facility. We need that not only for this, but we need this for years to come, because we're going to be looking at what our budget, what we need to do for the school system. I started to say, and I didn't say, is that Board of Education, we taking, if we were to do this, we'll come back to the board when we're ready for this to execute this. Okay? Am I right?
I have a point of confusion,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
in one vein, what I'm hearing is that tonight, what we're voting on is to proceed with the earnest money for the purchase of the land.
Yes.
Now, is the decision we're making tonight to proceed with the total purchase packet?
If it comes back, I mean, it's up to us.
Well, to be clear, you are being requested to approve the expenditure of everything. Okay, you're being requested to approve the expenditure of $25,000 per acre for 63 acres for a total of $1,575,000 as reflected in the real estate purchase contract, which includes the $75,000 earnest money deposit. So you are approving the expenditure. And and forgive me, Chairman Tyner, I'm not and again, there's nothing for this board to execute, because again, we're not a party to the contract. And again, the Board of Education cannot enter into the contract until this board approves the expenditure funds.
So there is no separation between the earnest money and the amount.
Well, there is a separation. There are still conditions in the contract that, you know, if conditions aren't met or if a party fails to follow through with performing the contract where, you know, in the former, the monies would be returned. In the latter, the deposit will be forfeited. Both parties still have the terms of the contract will control whether or not it whether or not it closes and the actual funds are exchanged, that will be determined at a later date. But you're approving that expenditure should it happen.
So basically, if we were to cancel without a cause, we lose the earnest money. If there's a cause, you get there.
That's correct.
That's
The
the
bo-
only two ways to.
And the "we" would be the Board of Education.
Board of Education.
Yes, sir.
I guess commissioners, we're commissioners.
No, yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just, just trying to get a total clear picture and understanding. Because on one, when I read the contract, and so glad we're having this discussion, is my perception of what we were doing tonight, and that's what it was, a perception. And thank you, Attorney McKellar, is that we were coming together to approve the earnest funding, but now it's all of it would be done now.
You're approving the expenditure, but correct me if I'm wrong, this board is not, you're not appropriating this money yet. I guess the $75,000 would be appropriated immediately,
That's what, yes.
but no, the subsequent, the lion's share of the purchase price is not being actually appropriated tonight.
Clear.
Now, will it call for another vote from this board or the other to be appropriated?
I don't think so, Chairman Tyner. I think that'd be a part of your budget when your budget's approved. And I stand to be corrected. I see Mr. Phillips is online. If I've misstated anything, Mr. Phillips, please let me know.
That is correct. That purchase price will be included in the budget packet for next fiscal year. And once you all approve the budget, we won't need to get another vote.
Understand that? Say it again, Mr. Phillips.
The purchase price for the land will be included in the budget ordinance for the next fiscal year coming July 1st. That's going to be presented to you all. And once you approve that, there wouldn't need no need for another approval after the point, after that fact.
That's my understanding. You will vote on your budget, of course, but not a separate, this would not come back before this board for a separate approval after tonight.
Correct.
And so my final question is, would it come out of this year's budget, Mr. Phillips? And thank you for being on. Or since you mentioned after July,
It'll be included for next fiscal year, which July 1st, which will be in accordance with when they require the money anyway.
Mr. Chairman, I'm still unclear. I can't speak for my fellow board members. I'm just unclear because conversation that I've had is really not the reflection of the conversation that I'm receiving this evening. And so I just need a total understanding.
I'm assuming the earnest money would come out of this year's budget.
Okay, clear on that point.
I'm out of the next year budget that starts July 1st.
Okay, so this is the this is Commissioner Faulkner. So my understanding was that we were in essence approving the total request. The part that has to be expended in this fiscal year is the lesser amount, the 75. Okay. And then if everything goes as expected, then that balance is due during our next fiscal year. So in essence, we're approving it all, but we're not actually allocating all of the expenses. So it's almost like you ordered something and you just put a part of it down and you don't pay the rest until you get it. But if you change your mind, or if wherever you're buying it from is unable to fulfill the delivery of the merchandise, and in this instance, the land, then you get your money back because it was no fault of your own. But if you decide that you're going to back out and just not buy it, if they have that restocking fee, I guess in layman's terms, you lose that part, you're just not out of the rest. So if something in the analysis of the land does not come back favorable and the school system says this is just not going to work for us, then because of the criteria in the contract, then the school system is not out of those funds. We have had to allocate it as a board, but they're not out of the funds. But if the school system just decides, oh, now we don't want it, then in essence, our county total is out of those funds because we've had to forfeit it. So tonight, in essence, we're approving of it all. We just don't have to have it all in our specific line item tonight, just the amount that's required to put for that earnest money. So I'm hoping that I interpreted that well, maybe in a little more layman's term, but if I misspoke, and something's not clear that the attorney can maybe redirect, then maybe that works.
Commissioner Faulkner, I think you did an excellent job of summarizing my understanding. What's happening here tonight.
Also, my understanding.
Okay. Any other question, board members? Question?
I got a whole lot of questions, Mr. Turner. I just don't know if I still have enough information to make this conscientious decision. Because of maybe I just received different, and thank you, Commissioner Faulkner, for that well-received explanation. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I just an understanding of when I read the contract and when I should have called you, Attorney McKellar, and food for thought next time. Just trying to get an understanding and so I can have a clear picture when I cast my vote. That's all.
I really had the same understanding that you had the night that we were going to do the $75,000 so they could do the due diligence. And then they would come back. That was my thing. Once they got it all together and say, yes, this is fine, we come back and then say the remainder, but that's not what it is. So I was on the same impression with you. In other words, if we do 75, the Board of Education can back out of it. We have lost 75 at any time. That was my that.
And that still is correct. Yeah, they can still back out of it.
That's correct.
If they back out without calls,
Mr. Knight.
lose the 75.
Okay.
If they back out with calls, we get the 75 back.
What is the timeline, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Matthews, if it's appropriate, what is the timeline? Today is February. I mean, it's January, right? We're getting ready to go into the month of February. What's the timeline that's needed for a decision to be rendered?
Start with the end,
Yes.
architect and as hoops that when we get.
Excuse me, Mr. Matthews. For those of us on, either your microphone is not on.
Is this? Because
Okay, I can hear you now.
it is
Okay.
on? Okay,
I can hear you.
thank you. We'll begin with the end in mind. It
Right.
is desired to move in that school in the fall of 2026. That's the timeline. In order to meet that timeline, the land is key and having access to get on the land. Through the architect and working with the school system, there is agreements for the environmental study, the survey, the traffic analysis. They're on my desk right now, waiting to sign. But you don't enter those agreements until you know you got access to the land. And the timeline is August of 26 to get into the building. And the only way you're gonna meet that timeline is to move pretty quickly on the land. Did that address your question?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Matthews.
At this time, any other questions? At this time, I'll entertain a motion. What is your motion this time? Your pleasure. What's your pleasure? Pleasure. Pleasure. Pleasure.
Make a motion, we proceed with the contract as presented.
Have a second?
Sorry to interrupt. So clarify your motion, Mr. Martin, your motion is to approve the expenditure
Yes.
of funds requested by the contract,
Yes.
which would include the $25,000 per acre for 63 acres and the $75,000.
Yes.
Well, that includes the
Money.
70,000.
Right.
Earnest money deposit. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Make sure we're clear. Are there any, could I have a second? I have a second. I have a second.
Second Faulkner.
Thank you. Move the proper second that we would execute this contract as given to us by Northampton County Board of Education. Are there any questions, any discussion?
I still have questions, Mr. Tim. It's just land is my question. And so all the land that was looked at, and I know this is the best location. Yes, sir. When I look at, and I've come back to, Mr. Chairman, land that we looked at for the purchase of houses right here at Central, is that land still available? Just questions about land. And so my question to you, Mr. Matthews, this is the best site that was looked at.
We went through an elimination process. We looked at over 14, 15 sites. Some were not available, some were not suitable. 4 were available, and this is the best of the 4 that were available. So it's the best site that we can obtain.
Clear.
Thank you. Any other question? Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of us purchasing Northampton County Board of Education purchasing this property. The price has been given to us. Let it be known by your sign aye.
Aye.
I, Broadex Taylor.
Aye.
Faulkner.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Thank you so much. Thank you. The next thing on our agenda.
We have.
Oh, okay. All right.
Next, board members, hopefully this will go quicker. In your packet is a proposed option to purchase involving the same parties, the Board of Education and the Baum family. This is for an additional 37 acres. It is a 2-year option agreement for the option price of $5,000. And this is adjoining property where the other 63, it's a contiguous property. And it's my understanding this option is sought by the Board of Education. Should additional grant funding be appropriated by the state for the construction of a middle school. So here again, the statutes require this board to approve the expenditure. Here, we're just approving the expenditure of $5,000 so the board could enter into this option to purchase agreement.
As I was reading, this option here is 2 years, right? They have 2 years.
Yes, sir.
Well, board members, the Board of Education asked us to have them to obtain the option on additional properties here. And the reason they're asking for it at this time is because of the fact they're going to ask the state again to give them funds for a middle school. And if they give them funds for a middle school, then all will be on the same campus, all be together. We do know that, the $5,000 is really minor, but it is important if they would receive that funds from the state. We have nothing to do with the state. State give them fund from the middle school. They'll know where the middle school is going. They'll come back to us 2 years and say, we need to purchase additional.
That's correct. And to clarify, should the option be exercised, then the Board of Education would come back before the board with a new contract, purchase contract. And again, at that point, this board would consider and potentially approve the larger expenditure for that purchase.
Does the school board think 2 years is a long enough time to have an answer on any grants you'd be applying for?
That's right. That's a good question.
Yes,
Yes.
either one of you.
If 2 years is a long enough time, I really can't answer that question. It all depends on when the Department of Public Instruction decides to grant the award for a middle school. We're going to apply again in the fall. Let me back up. According to my contacts at DPI, the legislator will approve of this capital needs grant fund again this year. And if the legislator approves of it, the applications will be open between September and October of this year, where we can reapply for the middle school grant. It is thought of DPI that the legislator will continue this process because it has assisted and helped many school districts across the state, us being one of them. So within the next 2 years, I would anticipate there's at least 3 windows of opportunity to apply for the middle school grant. And if they don't award the grant within those 3 tries, then our chances of getting it may be slim. So yeah, it'd be good to have the option for a longer than 2 year time period. But I gotta say, it's also, you gotta be fair to the Vones as well too.
You answered my next question was going to be, how often does this happen? So you think there's 3 windows of opportunity before?
Within the next 2 years. And the next one, supposedly, depending on legislative action, will be this fall.
Another question? Another question? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is a matter, we're just talking about $5,000, folks. And then if it comes through, then we'll be there with $5,000. It will be that we won't have to go out and look for no more land if it comes through. We know while they're preparing for the high school, they'll know what they're gonna do for middle school if it could. The same problem. That's not that doesn't bother me. $5,000, but that doesn't bother me. That's just me. So at this time, are there any question, Mr. It was you had any question?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
How about Commissioner Taylor?
None, Chairman Finer.
Okay, how about Commissioner Faulkner?
No
Any
question.
question?
No question.
All right. Could I have a motion on this, please, at this time?
So moved.
So move. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second, we move to proper second that we would provide $5,000 for the option for the additional land. Are they ready for your question and discussion? If not, all in favor, know by you sign aye.
Aye.
I, Broadax Taylor.
Aye.
Faulkner.
Ayes have, motion is carried. Thank you so much. Thank you for reminding me of that. Board of Education, you've gotten what you need to do, and we just ask that you would get back to us again, the filter plan, so that we can tell the public what we're doing and so forth, and keep us up to rest with what you all are doing, and as you develop, so that we can let people know likewise. Okay, And I want to say to the people who listening, who are part of us, you need to go to the Board of Education meeting now to know what the billing is and what they plan to do. All we do is allot those funds so they can be successful. That's what they tell us they need to be successful. And that's what we in the business of doing. Okay, thank you. At this time, we're gonna move on. There's one more item on our agenda, and that is the Board of Commission meeting schedule. We talked about having one meeting, two meetings. We do have two meetings, but we're talking about one of those meetings being a meeting of us discussing without any motions being made. So I wanna know to this evening, if you wanna do that. One is what they call it, discussion.
Work session.
Work session. The first meeting in the month will be a work session. The second meeting will be when we shall vote. So that we have anything coming before us, anybody coming before us, they can come before us. We won't vote on it, but we will have all the information and we'll take it home where we desire, and then we come back and we'll vote on it at the next meeting. That was a suggestion made at our retreat. So if you at this time want to do that, just tell us when you want to start it. You want to continue what we're doing, that's entirely up to you. I'm a chair whatever you do. Best I can. Commissioner Faulkner, any comments?
No, not at this time. Just listening. I guess
Right.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for modification of our calendar.
Before you make that a motion, let me hear from the other board members, making sure that they all agree as what they desire. Will we have a motion so we can all make sure we all are together?
Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, she's made a motion, so now we put it, so I second that motion.
Okay,
And then we'll come to the point of questioning and,
okay.
yes, sir.
Correct.
I've been proper second that we would look at the change of our meeting schedule. You ready for your question?
I have one question.
Okay.
When would you propose that to start, Commissioner Faulkner?
I was thinking, during our work session, we talked about time for our citizens to gather that information. Now we're having this retreat. Do we think that it is enough time for, I don't know if there were any action items expected on our February meeting that was mandatory, so to speak, that could not wait until the second one.
I would like to, because it'd be a change for our people in the departments. They gotta work through this change and making sure that nothing they need to get approved would need to be approved at the next meeting. So I'm really saying about maybe March that we would start to give everybody an opportunity to get used to the new system. Board members. How about Commissioner Faulkner? Commissioner Faulkner, you're mute.
I'm fine with whatever the majority is okay with. That's fine to wait till March.
How about?
Well, I was thinking, and since you said that, I was thinking just give until we get into the next fiscal year, Mr. July. If you look at the time frame, because July is a component of where there's a new beginning, and what is a new beginning? A new budget. So work session begins in July, just some for the board to consider.
Well, we've only got one meeting.
Right. There's a
Okay.
couple of times, but we only have one meeting scheduled already. There's only
So
one.
August. So thank you, August.
One members, it's up to you all. Sure, whatever you all do, whatever you all say.
I have a question. So at our work session, will the citizens be allowed in those work
Yeah.
sessions?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yes.
there just will not be a public comment time.
Gotcha.
In our regular meeting, there'll be public comment time. But it probably work better for citizens because they'll know what we're gonna bring up at.
And I just feel it need enough time to get all the information, Mr. Chairman, because you know, this, when we meet is first and third, and a lot of things transpire that require a whole lot of information. And it give us better time to be sitting at the dais here without questions. And I think it gives the county manager and his team more time to answer. Just me speaking.
When you want to start, that's.
I said August.
About it, Ms. Taylor, Commissioner.
I was thinking if we start in July, wouldn't that give citizens enough time to come in and give us some type of input or feedback on the budget, or just comments, concerns, or issues?
Well, since we only have one meeting.
It's one meeting in
We
July.
either got to start it earlier or later.
Well, that's a great point that you, so June, I mean, I was just saying August because to Mr. Martin's point, we only have, I pulled up the schedule, we only have one meeting scheduled in July. And you're great point.
It should not affect citizen comments on the budget at all. You will still have those standard meetings and public hearings.
All right, folks, give me the month.
I just want you to keep in mind that you do have to do budget work sessions. So if there's going to be additional meetings if you have regular meetings instead of work session meetings. So instead of 2 meetings, you will end up with more than 2 meetings a month for budget work sessions.
Clear. I still say August, Mr. Chair.
All right, could I get us, did you make that a motion?
But there's a motion on the floor by Ms. Faulkner.
Ms. Faulkner, what was your motion? Yeah. What's your motion? Commissioner Faulkner, what was your motion?
My motion was to start in March.
And then we all.
So now we vote on it, and then it can die, and then we can someone can make another motion. That'll be fine. So I'll call for question.
All right, question, okay, could I get a second that we started in?
It was already
It's
second.
been seconded by Dr. Edwards.
Okay, who second?
I did.
Okay, all right, that we started in March.
March.
That's correct.
March. All in favor, let nobody use your sign. Aye. Aye for March. Anybody?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody else?
I brought next Taylor.
Aye.
Nay.
I've had motions carried. That's it. We're started in March. Okay? Thank you, board members. All decision, won't it? Thank you.
No, just good discussion, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. At this time, board members, that's all we had on the agenda for tonight's meeting.
There's comments if you want to go for that.
Do anybody have any comments? Anybody sign up for any comments? They didn't. Okay. I have no other comments. We've taken care of business tonight. This is a special call meeting, and we've done what we've come to do. At this time, I'm asking for a motion for us to adjourn.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Move.
Second.
Move proper second. We adjourn. All in favor. Then nobody you sign aye.
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 Aye. Okay, motion
Faulkner.
carried. Thank you.